So, let's talk about a skill that's absolutely crucial for, well, pretty much everyone. Whether you're a manager, a parent, or you're just trying to explain a new board game to your friends, we're unlocking the art of being a master explainer.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You lay out an idea, you think it's crystal clear, you finish with a flourish, and you're met with just a confused look. It is so frustrating, and it makes you wonder, where did I go wrong?
Well, the good news is there's a real science to being understood. We're going to break down the techniques used by the best teachers out there to turn complicated ideas into simple, clear messages. By the time we're done here, you're going to have a toolkit to make sure you're heard, and more importantly, you're actually understood.
All right, first up, let's talk about giving instructions. This is really where clarity begins. And the core principle? It's surprisingly simple. Less is almost always more.
Okay, let's put this to the test. Imagine you're talking to someone who's just learning the language. Which of these is easier to get? Please push the door, or please close the door? Just take a second. What do you think?
And yep, if you chose please close the door, you nailed it. The reason is simple. Just like the quote says, the verb close is direct. A phrase like push to actually splits the action into two parts, a verb and a preposition, which is an extra mental hoop for a learner to jump through. The simplest path is always the clearest.
Okay, round 2. Let's try another one. How about you need to listen carefully versus please listen carefully? I mean, they seem almost identical, but one is way more effective than the other. Which one do you think it is?
And this is brilliant because it shows a hidden trap in our own language. The word need feels simple to us, right? But for a learner, it comes with all this extra grammatical baggage and a primary meaning of require. On the other hand, the word please in option B is direct, it's polite, and it carries zero extra weight. It gets the point across with no confusion.
So, we can boil all of this down into a few simple rules you see right here. Ditch the multi-word verbs. Instead of hand in, just say give me. Cut out those long politeness phrases. Your friendly tone of voice is enough. And maybe the most important one, just show them. Showing someone what to do is almost always better than telling them. And breaking it down, one clear message at a time, that's a total game changer.
Now, let's build on that foundation. How do we go from giving simple instructions to explaining a whole concept? Well, it turns out every great explanation rests on 4 foundational pillars.
And here they are. First, it has to be clear, using simple language. Second, it's got to be complete enough. And that enough is key. You're providing just the necessary info, not everything you know. Third, it has to be unambiguous, leaving zero room for interpretation. And finally, and this is the one people forget, it must be checked. You have to make sure the message was actually received the way you intended.
I really want to double-click on that third pillar, being unambiguous. Just look at this quote. When someone is learning something new, they are basically navigating a thick fog of information. Phrases like, well, it depends, don't help. They just make the fog thicker. Your job as an explainer is to be a lighthouse, giving them a clear, certain beam of information they can actually follow.
Okay, theory's great, but let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to look at a few fantastic examples that show these principles in action.
So check this out. Picture this scene. A woman sees her partner, he looks exhausted. A little thought bubble pops up and she decides, he's tired, I should cook. Then she says out loud, don't worry, I'll cook dinner. This is a classic grammar puzzle. Why did she say I will cook and not I am cooking?
And this brings us to the key question, the real heart of it. When is the decision being made? Is it a plan she already had, or is it happening right now, in this exact moment? The answer completely changes the grammar.
And boom, this timeline makes it perfectly clear. If it was an arrangement made in the past, like they agreed earlier it was her night to cook, she would say, I'm cooking tonight. But because the decision is happening right now, spontaneously, in the moment, she uses I'll cook. The tense itself tells us when the decision was made. So simple, so visual, and so effective.
All right, you ready for another one? What's the real difference between I saw him cross the road and I saw him crossing the road? This little sketch here gives us a huge clue. See how the person is safely on the other side? The action is totally complete.
And here is the beautiful, simple rule this picture illustrates. If you witness the entire event from start to finish, you use the simple form, I saw him cross. But if you only saw part of it, maybe a car drove by and you looked away before he reached the other side, you use the ing form, I saw him crossing.
What a great mental shortcut.
Okay, one last quick one, high versus tall. They both mean, up. So what's the deal? This slide breaks it down perfectly. We use high for big, non-living things, like mountains and buildings. And we use tall for things that grow, for living things, like people and trees. It's a simple rule that can clear up a lifetime of confusion.
So, after looking at all these examples, from the simplest instructions to some kind of tricky grammar points, what have we actually learned? Well, we've built ourselves a pretty powerful communication toolkit.
So here it is, the Master Explainer's Toolkit, all in one place. Simplify your language, be direct, use visuals and demonstrations, give people certainty, not fog, and finally, always check for understanding. And don't just ask, do you get it? Ask a question that makes them use the information. That's how you know they've really understood.
And that's really the big takeaway here. These aren't just rules for teaching a language class. This is a framework for clearer conversations in every single part of your life. So I'll leave you with this question. Where can you apply this toolkit starting today? In an email to your team, explaining something to your kids. The power to be truly, finally understood is now in your hands.